Welcome to the Mindset Connection podcast, where we showcase everyday changemakers who are doing extraordinary things in the field of mental health and wellness. This is our 12th episode, so welcome back. And if you're joining us, welcome to our show. We are your hosts, Jennifer Clearwaters and Cindy O'Connell. And we hope that you find our guests just as amazing and inspiring as we do. And today, our guest is Chip Craig, the Co-Executive Director and Chief Business Officer at Interfaith Neighbors. So welcome to the show, Craig. Thank you.
So Chip and I met, I want to say over 30 years ago when our boys were playing football, and we stayed friends and, professional colleagues for all that time. So Chip is a mover and a shaker. And if you want something done, he's the person to ask to get it done. You're smiling because you know it's true. He's also one of the most humble and selfless men I have known. And I have the honor to have in my life. So recently, if you watch us, all of our episodes, we had Rodney and Michael of Kids on. And when I said to them, "Oh, do you know Chip from Interfaith Neighbors?" They were like, "Chip? Chip's the man." So I was like,
He did say that.
I think that says it all. So he has touched so many people and offered the wealth of his knowledge just freely. So Chip's an attorney. He's formerly a CEO, an investor, a consultant to more than 100 businesses. He has vast experience in so many areas. And that's just the short list. He also has amazing volunteer work. So it is a pleasure to have you on our show today. And also thank you for the gift of your time to make the time to be here with your schedule.
Yes.
So, all right, we're ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why don't we start with Interfaith Neighbors? And if you could maybe tell our listeners, what is that in case if they're not familiar, and what is the work that you do there, and how can people learn about what it is that you're doing for the community?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Jen and Sin, for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome.
If I'm a mover and shaker, that's news to me. But if I'm doing any of that, I hope it's in a subtle way. There are a number of involvements, but they're always usually in a team-oriented way with a great group of people. So if anything, over my time of professional life, community engagements, volunteer work, it's always joining with other people who are similarly motivated with a mindset that really is about positivity and curiosity, frankly, and making small changes that can add up to meaningful changes.
The premise of our book.
That's right.
So, but as you ask about Interfaith Neighbors, Interfaith Neighbors truly is one of those organizations that has made small changes and improvements across the Monmouth County region for 38 years. And now when you look at it, Interfaith Neighbors can be said to have made dramatic changes in a positive way on people's lives. I first got to know Interfaith Neighbors about 12 years ago. 13 years ago, I was involved with a volunteer event called the Spring Lake 5. Some people may know about that. It's the largest 5-mile participants in the country, 12,500 runners. And we, for 25 years now, we have been a nonprofit, that race. So all net proceeds go to nonprofit organizations. So we were looking to begin to make an impact in underserved communities with our donations. And we looked at Asbury Park, and frankly, we saw a lot of need for some of our resources, and we looked at some organizations that were making an impact in Asbury Park, and Interfaith Neighbors was really at the top of that type of list. And we made a donation, a first donation, and we have been the race itself, Spring Lake 5, has been a donor to Interfaith Neighbors for all of the years since we started. So it's been a consecutive support of Interfaith Neighbors. So my involvement was really just to bring that donation to Interfaith Neighbors to support their work. Ultimately, I was asked to join the board. And then as professional time changed and I looked to do some other things after a professional career of 35 years, I was asked to consider to become more involved at Interfaith. So that's really how I got involved. It was very much like I say, subtle. And the founder of Interfaith Neighbors, Joe Momora, a tremendous man, was really instrumental in making sure he got me involved, kept me involved, and then opened the door for me to become a leader within Interfaith Neighbors. And what Interfaith Neighbors is really is a broad-based organization based in Asbury Park, but addressing Monmouth County, particularly communities and individuals who might need basic life necessities. So our work started as homeless prevention 38 years ago and primarily focused on the Asbury Park community, but broadly based at Monmouth County, which 38 years ago was a problem in Monmouth County. And today it still is a very serious problem for Monmouth County. We're a very wealthy county. Many people don't really recognize the homeless issue in Monmouth County, but it is as serious a problem today as it was 38 years ago. So we're involved in that.
I think that's an eye-opener for people.
Yeah.
It is. It's one of those situations that I think people don't really want to worry a lot about. But once people take time to think about it and look into it, and that's really what Joe Momora did 38 years ago. He was a retiring businessman. He actually cut out of his career early to really address this. So that's the basis of Interfaith Neighbors. But through the years, we have brought together what we call a comprehensive community engagement program. And that's, in simple parlance, it's really to build healthy, more sustainable communities. And within that, for individuals as well. So we address what are called the social determinants of health. And that is education at the earliest level, at the highest level, early ages, high level. It revolves affordable housing. It revolves proper nutrition. It is also about wellness. It's about job opportunities that are living wage jobs. You know, many people think about improvement in under-resourced communities, and they say, well, you know, there's a lot of housing that goes on there, but yet there isn't wellness and there isn't food security, and they're not great job opportunities. So what we try to bring to a community is a comprehensive approach. We have an early child learning center, and we have Meals on Wheels for 90, 100-year-olds in Monmouth County. And in between that spectrum, we have programs for workforce development. We have affordable homes we're building, and we have wellness programs and an urban farm in Asbury Park, which is a unique experience. So for us, it's all about engaging across a number of communities and individuals in Monmouth County. Our website at interfaithneighbors.org kind of explains these programs, and always anxious to have people visit us, come hear more, and how this work is impacting individuals and communities across Monmouth County.
So I did not realize that you do Meals on Wheels for all of Monmouth County.
It is.
I thought it was only Asbury Park, to be honest.
Yes, we are the county provider for the senior nutrition program, homebound and congregate sites, senior sites, 7 senior sites across the county.
Wow.
And the Meals on Wheels program is our largest program with Interfaith Neighbors. It's we get to 800 homes, doors, apartments, doors every morning, Monday through Thursday.
Wow.
You know, and you make a really good point to saying that, like, you know, we might think certain areas of Monmouth County, whereas where this is probably where these services could be utilized, but really you're not thinking it's an extension. Look how many people you're reaching. So there's that many people who need help. Yeah.
Well, the senior community, the homebound senior community is really one of those communities that this Meals on Wheels program is so impactful and valuable to.
Yeah.
For most of those individuals, that's the one person they see each day. They're homebound.
Right.
To qualify for the program, they have to be homebound. So the person who's coming to their door is that visual check, as well as bringing nutrition. And that truly is our largest volunteer program.
That was going to be my next question. That's what I figured.
We incorporated a lot of volunteers across Monmouth County. Very rewarding for the volunteers. So they centralize through these 7 senior centers across the county, and then move out from there. We deliver to the 7 the senior centers every day. And then our own drivers go out to over 300 doors of individuals.
And this is just one little part of Interfaith Neighbors.
That's right. That's one of the. It is our largest program by volume and employees,
Yes.
but we have approximately 50 employees. 25 really are part-time. The other are full-time. And across our programs, we engage a lot of individuals and a lot of communities. But if we look at the senior nutrition program, that is the largest on a daily basis.
So I have a question about this. So, you said it's only if you're homebound are you eligible. So how do people know, like who tells, all of a sudden, I'm considered elderly at this point, not elderly, but quite, I'm getting there. But anyway, so I become homebound. How
would
do
you even know?
yeah,
to
how
find
do I
someone?
even know this? Or, I'm sure that's a common question.
It is. Well, many of the individuals are being released from the hospital. So there is interconnection with maybe VNA to us,
Okay.
or the hospital staff to us. Many times it's family members who are reaching out for their parents who are living alone. The program does require an age above age 61. That's not a high bar anymore.
No.
But it does require that you basically are homebound, that you
Okay.
cannot provide for yourself. So a lot of social workers also are involved in that community, so they will be in touch with us. Individuals themselves call to see if they qualify, which is we man those phones every day for that
Right.
purpose.
Right. Okay. So how many people are actually at Interfaith Neighbors in charge of this program?
Meals on Wheels is our largest program by volume and by employees as well. So
Okay.
we probably, that's about 20 to 25
Wow.
individuals every day. And when I say every day,
Every day.
every early morning, we start around 5:30 in the morning. And I'll just mention this because it really is. This is a county program, so it's largely funded from the county, which is funded from the federal government, the Older Americans Act. But it does require a fair amount of donor, public donor, private donor to this program to make it work. And this program, we didn't miss one day during the pandemic.
That's
Which
amazing.
was when everybody was shutting
impressive.
down, and people weren't allowed to be out on the roads, and we were deemed critical employees of the county to be able to get to the seniors. So it really was an interesting time for everyone, but for us to see the dedication of the employees we have to be able to serve the community.
That is truly
That's really
commendable.
amazing.
Yeah. So let's go from the elderly down to the
The
3-year-olds.
little ones.
Good.
So I this from being a personal friend that you decided that we needed a preschool. There are a lot of preschools in Asbury Park, and preschool is free.
It is.
So what made you all decide that you needed to have a preschool and you wanted to be Montessori based?
And it's great to go from the seniors back to
and we will. We will.
Yeah, that's
The
great.
highest and high.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
low.
yeah.
And that's really what we feel great about, is that we do cover that range, and as well as young children, the young children in the school, but then those who are transitioning out of high school into careers. But for the school itself, we address 3-month-old to 4-year-olds. It is based in Asbury Park on the west side, Atkins Avenue. The origin of this, I have to say, was a donor of ours. And I can't say we as leaders or the board were ready to start an early child learning center. Although we knew the impact it could have, it requires a tremendous amount of resources, not just to get the facility started and opened, but as you said, to scholarship individuals through the cost of that, because we wanted to address an underserved community,
Right.
Which we are. So a donor of ours, local Jersey businessman, very successful, I won't mention his name today.
Okay.
People probably
I figured it out already.
could look somewhere online to find out, but I'll keep his privacy. But he inspired us to take this on. He made a pledge that allowed us to construct a new facility, have 3 years of paid for operations so that individuals could be scholarshiped.
Yeah.
There is a program in New Jersey for subsidy, but it doesn't come close to covering the real cost of this kind of care and education.
Yeah, and he gave
So-
you the opportunity to really make a go of it. If you had
Absolutely.
all of these obstacles were taken away, so you could really try.
Absolutely.
To do it.
It was go to it,
Yeah.
kind of. A really blessing for us and for the
Mhm,
community.
for
So
the
we now
community.
have approximately 30 young children, ages 3 months to 4 years. They are under a Montessori based program, not 100% yet
Mhm.
Montessori, because not all of our teachers are yet fully trained in Montessori. Your question about why Montessori, when we were given this pledge to go start, we looked at a number of different curriculums.
Mhm.
And we were very fortunate to have a consultant with us from the Department of Education. She really helped us lead into this program. And without her, we probably would have had far too many missteps. So Linda Eno was the woman, and she was tremendous for us. And we we recruited a wonderful director for the school, Ashley Fabian, who's our director today. She grew up in Asbury Park. Went to college, then went on to master's at Miami University in education, came back to Newark to teach. So we have a tremendous director of education there at the school. So with Linda, Ashley, and myself, we started to look at curriculums. And where's the evidence of meaningful change in young people's lives? And the both of them really aligned on Montessori.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me to say no. It was for me basically to support
Yeah.
where they were. And they both, were conclusive that was. And frankly, the donor, as we reported back to him and his family, they endorsed. There was no pre-requirement. As a matter of fact, we didn't really even know that some of his grandchildren were going through Montessori, but they totally endorsed that we go the Montessori route.
And, in my own experience, I've been exposed to children that have been going to a Montessori-based school, and it's a big difference. It's a big difference. So I was intrigued when we spoke about this years ago, and I was like, I am so glad that they offered this, because usually Montessori is very expensive.
Yes.
And it's only offered to the people that can afford it.
Mhm.
So why shouldn't every child have this opportunity?
Yeah. Well,
So-
I love your experience that you've had such a positive. I mean, you have great history and experience in education. And that it's usually, and frankly, we did a lot of, we developed a family council as we were developing the school. And we wanted to make sure people understood, because they were very familiar with traditional education. Montessori is different and
It
not
is.
necessarily well understood in certain communities. So we had a family board that we made sure the families who were going to look at our school understood what Montessori was.
Who came up with that idea?
Well, we actually
that was brilliant.
Well, it was really one of those things where we and very much of Interfaith Neighbors work. We don't set out to make a plan and say, "Here, community, come to this plan." We try to respond to and be proactive with what the community is talking
Exactly.
about.
What
And
they need.
What do they need?
Yeah.
Right.
Ask the people you're serving.
Yeah.
Right.
People
So-
forget that step.
So, we wanted them to be part of the decision, but to be able to be part of the decision, we had to make sure they understood
Mm-hmm.
what Montessori is, why it's different, how it's different, and why that would not be a deterrent to moving into might end up being normal, formal education
Right.
for their children.
So it's interesting because, having worked in public ed for so many years, Jen and I both, we always recognize that you have to start young. You can't just say, okay, let's look at these high school kids. How can we make changes here? No, not to say that it can't happen, but really start with those 3-year-olds
Wow.
and educate them in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very relevant point and intersects with a lot of our work at Interfaith Neighbors. We have a workforce development program that tries to pick up individuals coming out of high school who aren't with a career path to college or even a community college. And that work we do through our launch center on Springwood Avenue is challenging because a lot of the education that many of these individuals have had has not been strong.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to touch the youngest as they're starting to learn how to learn and being encouraged through that was really meaningful to us because
Yes.
we've seen how difficult it is to change mindset and habits when someone's 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're showing them there's opportunity
Yes.
at a very young age.
I should add to the value and sort of the promise of the school. When we decided to go ahead and start with this early childhood education, we made a commitment to surround the families as much as the children so that they're learning nutrition, wellness, how to reinforce the learning that the children are getting. So our parents are as much involved with the school and the children as the children are every day. And that has been a real meaningful part of the program as it impacts the entire family and then out into the community. So now we have these parent power hours once a month where we bring topics.
So
Love
great.
this. It's so needed.
great.
One of the biggest obstacles that you hear in
Yes.
education is that we have a disconnect. We can't get the parents involved. Can't
Right.
get the parents to come. But we all want to work together, but we can't get everyone together.
Right.
So
Oh,
you're
so
doing this.
It's been wonderful because those families then they reach out to others in the community to come, there's a speaker coming, this person's there, So it's been a really interesting development within the development of the Early Child Learning Center.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, because now my mind is like spinning on this.
We're going,
So
forget
now,
the script.
have we? Yeah. So the school's been open for
2 years.
2 years. So now you've had 4-year-olds that have left and gone to Asbury Park School, or not yet?
Well, that is an interesting
Graduates.
topic. We are graduating our first students this spring.
Promoting. We don't like to say
Okay.
graduating. The only time you graduate is high school, college,
Okay,
master's.
promoting. I like
Moving
that.
on.
That's new
Moving
to me.
on.
Moving on. I
because
have heard that.
yeah, moving
Yes.
on,
Moving
moving
on.
up.
That is because when we started the school, we really wanted to start without a 4-year-olds.
Mhm.
We wanted to have them age in so that they started
Yeah.
younger
Yes.
and aged into. So now
Lots of good thinking.
yeah,
there.
it was,
You really, really forward thinking.
we actually had a lot of time to think and plan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were building during the pandemic, so that delayed some things that the start of the school, but it gave us more time to keep thinking and putting plans in place. So we will be promoting our youngest this spring. To your point about that topic, what we are doing is because we feel the school is making such an impact on
Mhm.
these children, we are making sure we bring to the families during our power hours the alternatives to just the Asbury Park or Neptune school system so that they're aware of some of the alternatives in the local area. So there are some schools that are also very highly scholarshiped for the children. So we're trying to make those choices available and aware to the
And then
families.
families can make an informed choice.
So how many 4-year-olds do you actually have moving up?
There will only be 3, we think.
That's okay.
Starting
Yeah.
small.
So,
yeah,
you
we're
know-
starting
you know-
small.
You know what I'm thinking? I would love to see someone, and you could maybe get some graduate student or something involved, because I know you do have volunteers from Monmouth and other.
do.
So, to do some research and follow those 4-year-olds. You've already
It is a
thought of
plan.
that.
No, that is the plan. No, that is
Yeah.
truly the plan. You're
Yes.
right.
That's
I
how
mean,
you're
like,
gonna know.
that's-
That's how you're going to know.
That's
That's how
right.
you know.
That's
Are we
exactly
making
right.
a difference?
And that is, a lot of the work an organization like Interfaith does is long term.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can't see a change necessarily in a year or two. So that's part of the dedicated work. And that's exactly what we intend to follow, to make sure that we see a difference. And if not, where are we missing? How is it missing?
And how can we do better?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly. Great. Okay.
Well, on
Wow.
the website, before we move off of Interfaith Neighbors, there's 2 interesting. When I was looking there, there's a section for volunteers, which you talked about briefly. So I have 2 questions. One is, besides the Meals on Wheels program, where else can people make a difference and volunteer their time? And then the other thing that I thought was very interesting, and you mentioned it briefly, is the fact that there's a connection with a farm, which I thought was really, really unique and interesting and so well needed.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm glad
can
you brought
talk
the
about
farm up, because I mentioned wellness a number of times, and
Yes.
wellness largely with us is nutrition, balance. There's been a lot talked about ACEs and
Yes.
adverse child
Yep.
experiences, so we try to address aspects of that in some of our work. But the farm is probably the most welcomed sort of addition to the community. I shouldn't say that, because the school now is, but the farm engages with the community in a very different way. It's a soft education of wellness and nutrition.
Oh, I like that. A soft.
well, even when you look at the pictures, I went, oh, there's a farm here.
Yeah.
There's it looks like there's pictures of people working on it, and
Yes.
just seems like it's something that's so needed.
And
nowadays.
it is,
and it's important.
we have 2 different farms in the farm on the west side of Asbury Park. One is a farm without borders, and that truly is open to the community. We have 2 farmers that are on our staff, and they plant and then advise through the season what is ripe for harvesting, and then what typically we will have a menu, how to use what they're taking. So,
And what's the other one? There's 2, you said. 2.
Yeah, the other part of the farm. So there's a farm without borders, and the other farm is a hydroponic farm, which is very interesting on the west side of Asbury Park. At night, with some of its lights, it kind of looks like a spaceship. Frankly, it's a little different. But the hydroponic farm is really it's part of a social enterprise. It allows us to sell produce fresh, ripe, constantly. Not just seasonally related, but you can raise through the season or through the year, and we sell it to the restaurants in Asbury Park. So
Wow, that's great to know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
talk about community.
Yes.
Wow.
So that sustains a lot of the work we're doing at the farm for the community, and the restaurant community in Asbury Park has really been tremendously supportive. And I shouldn't just say Asbury Park, but even like Grand Tavern in Neptune, it runs across a lot of restaurants.
Right.
So that's
and people wouldn't even know this.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important to bring these issues out, because so many people, even maybe people who live in the community, don't even know how far extended out into the community and into Monmouth County that you're going.
We like to think efforts like this help to spread that.
That's it.
That's
But-
why
That's
we're,
why
that's why
we
we're
wanted
doing this
you on.
podcast. This is why we
But
do
yes.
what we do.
The nutrition dialogue, and again, health wellness being a lot of where you are all focused, it is in a community that is open to understanding better nutrition. I think that day has arrived.
Yes.
And certainly the younger people, from our school to what we see in our work with young adults, there's an openness to it. So for us to be able to address maybe older members of the community about this and offer it along with recipes of how to use these items.
Great.
And I must mention this work has been joined by Hackensack Meridian Health. So it's good to know that a healthcare provider is very much involved with us in helping support this work, because that changes all of the outcomes. If the community can, whatever community you're in, is eating a little healthier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it impacts, I'm a big proponent of that and how food impacts your mood.
Yeah, she
Your
does a
mental
whole
health.
course on food and mood.
Yeah. That's why when I saw a farm, I was like, okay, they're going in the
We'll
right
need
direction.
you to come down to the farm then.
I would love that.
Yes.
And that's apropos to your other question about volunteers.
Yeah.
We find a lot of people like to come and help on the farm.
Get their hands dirty. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
connect with nature.
It's so healing.
It's very
Yeah.
healing.
Well, we have a program at the farm. It's called No Questions Asked Employment. And it's really about reentry, people who are reentering, whether it's from substance abuse or incarceration. So we have a program where they can come and work on the farm, set number of hours, they get paid, and then we are a referral for them to go for a job application.
So don't ever say that you're not a mover and a shaker. I know that you are part of a team, but yes, you are, because you're making lots of change.
And I know, Cindy, this is one of Cindy's questions, but like, how are you doing all of this? Like, how do you manage all of this? How do you do it all?
Because you're volunteer work too,
Yes,
and you have a
volunteer work,
family, and you're a grandfather,
How do you
and
do
a
all
good
this?
husband.
That's the best. 38 years. Yeah, that's the best. 39.
But how are you managing all of this and
well-
all of your issue, all of your time with the Spring Lake 5? Like, that's a major event in itself.
And I will, well, the Spring Lake 5 is a perfect example. I mean, that is a great team work. I mean, 12,500 people are showing up Memorial Day weekend. That isn't a one-person deal. That's not a 10-person
Can't do this
deal.
one alone.
So that is a great example. Over the past 24 years, that our group has been involved in leading it. It's a committee. It's 30, 40 people who have people under them. It's organizing more than it's doing.
A well-oiled machine.
It is, and all of everything that I hope I mentioned early on. It's about being part of team. I mean, I didn't play golf growing up. I didn't play tennis really. I did team sports, so that is there's where my I think value is. I like to be part of a bigger something. I don't need it to be at all, like in this light. I don't particularly like being in this light.
But this is necessary.
It
It's
is
a
necessary to
step
get the
because
word out.
We're about building awareness.
Yes. Yeah, no, I
And
appreciate
if
that
even
for sure.
one person listens to this and goes, I never knew that was right in my backyard.
Yeah.
Let me check that
Yeah.
out.
That's
Then
right.
we did our job.
Yeah.
So people can volunteer Meals on Wheels. People can volunteer at the farm.
farm.
People can volunteer where else?
Well, we have if people
Go on the website.
There's nothing really that is always available.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's where
Things
the need
come
is.
up,
Yeah.
and then people might say, "Well, look, I'm available this day and that day, for these hours. So if you ever have something, give me a
Need some
call."
help.
Right. Okay.
So
gotcha.
those are
All right. So there must be somebody who's in charge of volunteers.
we do. We
Okay.
do. We
Yeah.
have a volunteer
Of course
you do. Team member.
coordinator, a team member, right.
So, all of your experiences, and it's interesting because one of the things that you did when you would help businesses was to be more successful and to be sustainable. And so my question was going to be, and the question that Jen and I came up with was that how did all of your past experience affect what you're doing now? But I think you kind of answered that.
Yeah.
Well, I will add one thing to that, and that career over 35 years was not always perfect. I mean, because my partners and I were involved in so many businesses, there's failure. So it's not always going to be perfect. There are setbacks. So I would say that resiliency over those 35 years of having success, but then maybe soon after realizing, well, golly, I thought that was going to be a success, but that one wasn't. So there's a little bit of resiliency that gets built. And I think that's been, when I mentioned not too long ago, I mentioned, change in these communities and change that we're trying to make doesn't happen right away.
No.
Patience.
So patience, resiliency.
How did you deal with the setbacks? Because sometimes when we hit failure or we hit, a great idea that doesn't work out, we'll go, oh, forget it. I'm not doing that. How did you push through?
Personally.
Well, I could flip the script here a little bit because the worst setback was personal.
Yeah.
But that truly, when our son died, I would say that sort of was a period of time that whatever success or failures had been before, it was a different level. And health and wellness gets put into question.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got a wife that's incredible.
You do.
And actually that, the opportunities that came after Kyle's passing had a lot to do with Joe Memoro saying, here's a place you can come and it'll help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
At
Place of healing.
Yeah. So that's very insightful. And there actually is, not to get too spiritual, but there's a...
Spirituality's fine on this show.
I know it is.
You can say whatever you
I know
want.
it is. But there is, it's 2 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 3, and it says something to the effect that, in gaining comfort and comfort from Christ, you are able to give comfort. So I would say faith was a place that I turned. Certainly my wife was there, and things developed to be able to step forward. So it's interesting, how it resonates then into working with other people and trying to give, because that is the salve when you're hurting.
Well, yeah, healing yourself, and you're starting to heal others, and then you give hope.
Well,
yeah,
that's what we hope.
Yeah.
And you are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Chip, because I think that is so true and so important for people to understand that there is another way.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because somebody listening right now might think like, I don't have that hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have a place to turn to, or I don't even know where to go or what to do.
Right.
So,
I saw a Pew Research recently came out, I think 2023, and this is very relevant to you all. You probably might even have read it or seen it. 7 out of 10 American adults feel spiritual, that there is a spiritual connection. And I saw that and I thought, it's just recognizing and, being aware to it. And as you say, when you're hurting, it's hard. And when you're getting setbacks, it's hard to think that way.
Yeah, it is.
But truly that has been some of the ability to get me going forward in the most difficult of times is that.
And I really believe this statement that the more you give, the more you get back. And that is, I mean, that's the way we live our lives. And, and I know that you also do the same. So, there's so many people that have benefited from what you have given. So, but you never answered our question about how do you have the time to do all this, Chip? Because and he works out, he's in great shape. I mean, like, do you ever sleep?
No. I think I learned early from my mother discipline.
Do hard things.
Yeah, do
Ultimate
hard
discipline.
things. That's our motto.
Discipline.
Do
Discipline is our
hard
word.
things. That is
Yeah.
our word.
Yeah.
There are no miracles, only discipline.
Yeah. The
So-
discussion was up the other day we had in one of our sessions with our team at the Launch Center. Would you prefer discipline or intelligence?
Interesting.
Ooh, I love that question.
Yeah. Would you?
I think the two are tied together, though.
But if you could,
You can only pick one.
Yeah.
If you can only pick one, you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't have any discipline,
That's
you're
where we
getting
all came down.
nowhere.
That's
I
where we
agree.
all came down.
It's like athletics. I had two gymnasts. I hope they're not listening, but on my team that were sisters, and one was really more talented than the other, but the other had such discipline
Can't
that
get
she
anywhere
was
without the
state
discipline.
champ
Yeah.
over and over. But her sister was
It's a big
better.
deal.
That's exactly where we came down.
Yeah,
on
it
was
is.
That
It's the truth.
discipline.
Yeah.
Because people that are so successful, it's not because they're the smartest.
Right.
It's because they have the discipline. 10,000 hours. They're putting it
That's
in.
exactly
Putting in the
right.
time
So,
when no one's looking.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we were going to ask you, I was going to ask you what's a takeaway, but I think you've already given that.
Yeah.
So,
we're wrapping up our
yeah,
last
we're
couple
wrapping up
minutes,
because
but-
yeah,
yeah.
he lets us go a little over that. But anyway,
Mhm.
so, our book is about change. And you said so many things. She's looking at me like
going, this is
small
perfect.
steps to big change.
Yes.
Just take that one step. So this is a question we ask everybody that comes on. Is there something you want to change in your life?
Just yes or no.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So
oh
what-
golly, every day I see something.
Okay.
I
So
can
what?
do
to know.
changing a little bit different. Sure.
Okay.
Oh,
So what's
yeah.
holding you back?
No, I'm addressing it every day.
Oh, you are
Something.
addressing
Oh,
it every
yeah.
day. Well, there you go.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
then you
Oh,
answered
my
the third
gosh.
question, which is one thing that you could take. So many people that we've asked this question to probably
Hundreds and
1,000
hundreds-
people.
Yeah,
1,000
least
people.
1,000 people.
So what most people would say, yes, there's something I want to change. Well, what's holding you back? And they'd be me. So what's one small step?
I can schedule this thing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
they just to take that first step.
Yeah.
So don't ever say that you're not a mover and a shaker, because you are, because you're always working to be better.
Well, and
You
taking
know?
that step, that's the discipline.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
awareness that I have to make a change, and then going, now I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask him this other question that we ask everybody. What are your 3 strengths? Don't overthink it.
Discipline,
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
empathy,
Mm-hmm.
humility, and honesty. If I can add honesty too.
Yeah.
You can.
So, and what did I say? He is one of
Yeah.
the most humble men that I have ever. I mean, if you are watching this or listening, if you aren't impressed by what this man has achieved and overcome in his life, I mean, honestly, when I said it was an honor to have him as a friend and just to, have him in my life, it is so true.
Yeah.
So,
Where
yeah.
can people, if they're listening to this and they're just tuning in and going, oh, Interfaith Neighbors, what is that? Where can people go to find out more about you or about the programs or get involved somehow?
Well, we'd welcome that, or I'd welcome it. And probably the easiest way, I can be the guide. They can email me at chipc@Interfaith Neighbors. That's C, letter C, not SCA,
Mhm.
at interfaithneighbors.org.
Okay. That's
great.
wonderful. Great.
All right. We always like to say to people, remember to pause, take a breath, and then respond instead of reacting. So slow it down. And the other thing is to do hard things.
Do
and I
hard
think
things.
that Chip has showed us how doing hard things is possible in everyone's life.
Absolutely. One
yeah.
little step at a time.
Exactly.
So
Thank
thank you
you
so much
so
for
much.
being on our show. And anyone out there that's listening, please check out Interfaith Neighbors and, reach out and get involved any way that you can. We will be back again with another episode, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.